Tomahawk steaks are essentially thick ribeye steaks where they left a nice bone handle you can use to move the steak around. They present really well, and anyone who loves steaks should definitely give it a try. But don't let the thickness of the steak intimidate you. I'm going to show you a very easy method you can follow. I'm also experimenting with the idea if you can add flavor after the tomahawk is cooked, and I'm going to show you if it was a success or not. Later on, I'm also going to explain the disadvantage to cooking a tomahawk. But trust me, the main disadvantage does not outweigh the awesomeness and the impressive nature of cooking a tomahawk steak. So let's start this cook by starting up the SNS kettle. I'm going to pour some charcoal on this chimney. I'm also going to pour a layer of briquettes on the SNS insert. Let's light up the chimney. You'll need a tomahawk steak. I got mine from Wild Fork since they opened up a store nearby. This is an aged beef tomahawk steak that I got at a good price. One side of the package you'll want to season. As mentioned at the top of the video, I'm going to limit the flavor by only adding salt to the steak. Don't think this tomahawk is going to be lacking in flavor. I'm going to baste with a rosemary garlic butter as it's cooking. And then I'm going to add some gremolata to finish it off. Now don't be stingy with the salt. I like to add a 1/4 teaspoon per pound of meat. This salt I conveniently measured out to this little glass bowl, and I'm going to add all of it, making sure I cover all the sides. Steak isn't everything we're eating today. I'm going to set up this dripping griddle on my SNS kettle, and I'm going to roast some carrots and broccoli. These vegetables were blanched for about 3 minutes before being placed here. These are not going to stick around for the grill for too long, so giving them a head start in some boiling water will make the process a little smoother, and it's also going to give these carrots and broccoli a little smoke flavor. Next, let's check our grill temperature. If you can safely hold out your hand over the fire like this, you're good. This method of cooking is referred to as front searing, which basically means start by searing it first and then moving over to the indirect side, covering it and let it come up to temperature. My favorite way to cook a thick steak like this is the reverse sear, because it's going to get you a perfect wall-to-wall pink. The reverse sear is my favorite method, and if you want to know how to do it, stay tuned until the end of the video. I'm going to show you how. But for an easier, less complex cooking demonstration, and in order to inspire you to cook one yourself, I'm using the front sear. Just keep flipping every 2 or 3 minutes, but then turn it to more constant flipping the more it cooks, mainly because cooking it with the lid open will result in running a hotter fire. The sear is looking nice so far, and it smells great. I bet the neighbors are feeling a little jealous right now. To introduce some flavor, I'm going to melt down some butter and garlic, and then baste my steak with it. The butter will definitely spike up some flames, but it's not going to burn up the steak, I promise. But let's be honest, grilling a steak with the flames sparking up looks so awesome if you ask me. Flip constantly and look for a good sear, just trust your eyes. Please note, I haven't checked the temperature. A steak this size will get a nice sear before the middle is cooked at medium rare. Once you're happy with your sear, let's move over to the indirect side, away from the fire. Let's also probe it so we can see the internal temperature on the steak. And let's give it a bit more basting action. If you want a medium rare, you'll want the steak to hit about 120 and then let it rest until it hits about 130. You have to always compensate for that carryover heat on thicker pieces of meat. Let's cover and get started on the second layer of flavor we'll be adding. I'm making some gremolata. You want to chop down some parsley? Give it a good nice chop. Add a clove of garlic and a bit of salt. Now remember, we could always add a little bit more later. Let's add a few tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and the zest of half a lemon and the juice of half a lemon as well. Obviously, be more careful with the seeds than I was here, and take them out if any of them sneak in. Mix it good, and taste for salt. This felt a little bit too sour, so I added some more salt. Now this is a great alternative to chimichurri, and it's much easier to make, since it only requires the chopping of one herb to get you going. Let's check the temperature on our tomahawk. It's sitting at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. After the rest, it'll be slightly overcooked at around 135 to 140, which is really more of a medium. But you know what? It's okay. It's not going to offend anyone. Well, except for the few online steak aficionados. Now the vegetables are also done, so I'm gonna also remove them and place them in some foil. Now you can put these in the oven in the warm setting. This way you can serve them hot when it's time to eat. Okay, now let's place the rest of the tomahawk on our board. Oops, I forgot one thing. Let's place some gremolata on the board first. Now the steak juice released during cutting and the gremolata are gonna mix very, very well, and it's gonna be a delicious combination. For presentation purposes, I'm gonna first remove the bone. Now there's still plenty of awesome good meat here, so don't discard the bone. Next, let's slice the steak. Okay, so what's the disadvantage to cooking a tomahawk? Well, the only disadvantage I could think of is that they're a little on the expensive side, and it's probably due to the weight of the bone factoring in on the price. Now, you probably can't cook these too often, but if you really want to impress, you'll definitely enjoy cooking one. Next, let's top it off with some additional gremolata. Ain't she a beauty? Even though all I used was salt on it, the garlic, butter, rosemary base, and the delicious gremolata, it really packed in some flavor to this steak. Now don't be shy with the gremolata. Feel free to add a bit more with each bite you take. And lastly, be sure to clean up some from the board.
This is really, really good.
The mixture of steak juice and the gremolata is earth-shattering. You will love it, so give it a try. Yes, I went salt only, but there's definitely flavor there. That butter, garlic base, that sauce, that gremolata, fantastic. Goes great, complements it very, very well. As you can tell, it's not a perfectly wall-to-wall on that steak. Now, if you want a perfect wall-to-wall steak, you gotta go for the reverse sear. And lucky for you, I got a next video that you should definitely check out, how to reverse sear a tomahawk steak. So let's start this cook by starting up the SNS kettle. Wait, did I just do that whole take without my hat? My hat is just hanging out here. I'm not gonna redo that. There's no way I'm redoing that. That's a wrap without the hat.